Welcome to the midweek edition of the Four Star Chicago Sports Podcast. Yeehaw! The Bears are headed to South Texas, and Kyle and I are going to break it down next. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome for joining us on this midweek edition. And you know what happens on Wednesday? It's time to turn the page from week one into week number two. Our Chicago Bears are on a flight probably tomorrow, headed down to South Texas for an awesome matchup against last year's, what was it? Was he rookie of the year? CJ Stroud, Kyle?
Yeah.
Last year? Yeah. Last year's rookie of the year, we got Caleb Williams in his first road start. It's a prime time matchup. This is going to be a lot of fun. Kyle, when the schedule first came out, we broke it down. We all had this pegged as a loss for the Chicago Bears. I'm going to give a couple of keys for the Bears here to possibly maybe come away with a victory. And we'll see if you agree or disagree and see what you're thinking. Before we get started into that, guys, the Bears and Texans have squared off 5 times. The Texans lead the series 3-2. Folks, neither team has won on foreign soil. The Bears are 0-3 in Houston, and Houston is 0-2 in Chicago. We do currently own a 2-game winning streak, winning in as time ran out in 2022 with Cario Santos hitting a game-winning field goal. So the bettors are also on the side of the Texans. The Texans are laying 7, and right now 68.7% of the bets are saying the Houston Texans are going to cover this game on Sunday. I am on the other side of that. I would like to probably take the Bears plus the points. A couple of things stick out to me, and I want to start with the Bears' defensive line, which was a big question for all of us coming into the season. And we're all wondering, what are we going to get? What are we going to get? And Darrell Taylor made himself a household name in week one. He had a big week one. And coming into this, the Texans allow 28.1% pressure on passing attempts. Last week, my friends, the Chicago Bears got after the quarterback at 31.2%, which was second best in the NFL. So I do think this is a key for the Chicago Bears to get a victory is get this guy down on his backside and keep him off the field. Kyle, what is one of your keys on that side of the ball for the Chicago Bears? Or give me your keys of what you think are going to be important to maybe the Bears upset Houston in South Texas.
I mean, just to be honest with you, this is actually, if you look at it on paper, it's actually a pretty good matchup for the Bears because if you look at the Texans last year, they gave up a lot of passing yards. I think they were ranked 22nd in the NFL, and they gave up somewhere around 234 passing yards a game. This is a perfect opportunity for Caleb Williams to kind of have his breakout game, if you will, or at least look a lot better than he did last week. The key matchup in this game to me in particular will be the interior of the Bears offensive line versus the Texans defensive line. That's the one that you have to keep your eye on because, as we know, the Texans like to do a lot of stunts with their defensive line. They like to move guys around, and if they move Neil Hunter inside and he's up against Nate Davis or Coleman Shelton, it could be a long day for the Chicago Bears. The Bears are familiar with Neil Hunter. He's been on the Vikings the last few years, and every time the Bears played him, he absolutely just destroyed them. It was a human wrecking ball in the middle of that defensive line for the Minnesota Vikings. So keep a very close eye on the Bears center and guard position.
You know, we were talking about their defensive tackles, and last year they had Jonathan Greenard and Malik Collins, who combined for almost 100 pressures and 17 and a half sacks. This year they have Denicio Autry, who spent 3 years with the Tennessee Titans. In those 3 years, he had 50-plus pressures and 8 sacks per year. He didn't get home or register any stats. And in last week's ball game, Foley Fektuski, I hope I'm not butchering his name, is their one technique. He had 4 tackles, 1 sack, 1 pressure last week. these two guys seem to be the cogs. I kind of like the fact that they might be a step down from the guys they actually had on the defensive line last year. Knowing that Coleman Shelton was our punching bag for week 1, do you think up that middle? I expect, first off, I expect Tevin Jinks to have a way better game. Now we have these two big guys clogging up the hole. Like I said, Autry did not register any sacks. I did not see, he didn't have any pressures either. Was he disruptive? I don't know. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance, I'll be honest, to catch up to the Texans game as I was at the Bears game with you and 4-Star Chicago Sports. So with these two guys, and Derek Stingley is the other guy. He had 6 targets last week, 3 catches. He allowed in 25 passing snaps. These are some of the key guys, as you touched on, the 2 outside guys. It's going to be a big task. I'm not so much worried about Darnold Wright, excuse me. He was 35 for 35 in passing downs last week, pretty much perfect. Allowed 0 pressures. So whoever's on that side, it'd probably be Hunter. From what you know, Kyle, do Hunter and Anderson switch often? Is that something that we have to be concerned about? I know they slide him inside sometimes, Danielle Hunter, but will these guys switch over? Do you know?
Yeah, I believe they do, and I think that you'll see a lot of Danielle Hunter moving inside, because I think most teams, specifically the Texans, with a head coach like DeMeco Ryans, who's obviously a very good coach and a very smart guy, they notice the Bears' weaknesses. I think it's not going to take long for the rest of the NFL to notice that Coleman Shelton is not the best starting center in the NFL. We talked about this almost the entire offseason. That was still the Bears' weakest link. Even if Coleman Shelton is an upgrade over Lucas Patrick and Sam Mustipher, he is still not near the top of the NFL in terms of starting centers. And that is where you could take advantage of the Chicago Bears offensive line. Now, here's the question: are the Bears going to do things to adjust to that problem? For instance, the Bears didn't play anybody at fullback at all last week, barely any fullback at all. Are they going to put a tight end in the backfield or a blasting game in the backfield to help the pressure coming up the middle and give Caleb Williams maybe an extra second to throw the ball? Another thing is the Bears can do stunts on offensive line as well. They could move as soon as the ball is snapped. They could have a guy like Nate Davis pick up the defensive end and move Darnell Wright onto the inside to help with the tackles. Now, I'm not saying that's what the Bears are going to do, but it's probably something they should look into. The good thing for the Bears is, the reason I said the defensive backfield for the Texans is not that good, is they gave up a lot of yards last year, and they gave up some huge plays in week 1 to Anthony Richardson. I mean, honestly, I'm not taking anything away from Anthony Richardson. I think he's a good quarterback, and he's going to make a lot of good plays in this league. But he also, if you look at that pass that Anthony Richardson made to Alec Pierce last week, there was a lot of luck there, Sean. I mean, he kind of just heaved that thing up. It was a prayer, and it landed right in Alec Pierce's hand. Now, obviously, that was an amazing pass. It was 60 yards in the air. The guy obviously has a very strong arm, very talented arm. But I think ultimately the Texans, on the 9 completions that Anthony Richardson had last year, I think that the receivers averaged 24 yards a catch on those completions. So the Texans are susceptible to big plays downfield. And Caleb Williams should be able to take advantage of that, as long as the Bears' offensive line can hold it down long enough for him to get the ball out of his hand and for the receivers to complete their routes. But you look at the rest of this Texans defensive backfield, excluding Derek Stingley, who was one of the best players in the NFL, and he actually had a Pro Football Focus grade of 82 last year, which was one of the highest of any corners in the NFL.
Stingley's a beast.
You look at the rest of their defensive backs, and it's not good, Sean. I mean, they obviously drafted Kamari Lattiser in the second round this year. I do expect him to be good at some point. Out of Georgia, he's going to be good at some point. But it takes a long time for defensive back players to come into the NFL and adjust. And he wasn't great last week, and I don't think he's going to be great this week. He's probably not going to be good for the first 6 to 8 weeks of the season. Kind of like what we saw with Tyreek Stevenson last year, where it kind of took him a while to get going. Now, there was a lot of big plays on Tyreek Stevenson last year until the game started to slow down a little bit for him. Another guy everybody talks about when they talk about the Texans is Jalen Petre, who we all know was drafted very high and there's a lot of talk about. Yeah, a lot of talk about him coming in the NFL. He had 5 interceptions his rookie season in 2022. Since, he has had 0. I mean, the guy has almost dropped off the face of the planet. And last year, he had a 61.6 Pro Football Focus grade. That is not good for safeties, guys. That's not good. You want to be anything above 68 to be considered an average to good player. Jimmy Ward was a 68.4, so serviceable, but certainly not a huge playmaker. He's not somebody you shy away from when you're throwing the ball. And then lastly, they had their nickel is Miles Bryant, who finished with the 66.6 Pro Football Focus grade. So you guys, the Texans secondary can be taken advantage of. The Bears just have to make sure they give Caleb Williams enough time to get the ball out of his hand. Dustin talked about this on the show last week. We talked about this a lot. You have to give Caleb Williams some layups to open the game. He has to get a couple dump offs, a couple screen passes, and get him confident, get him comfortable, make sure that he's getting the ball out of his hands quick. Then once that defense starts to play back a little bit, then you can take advantage of that weak secondary for the Houston Texans, and you can start throwing passes downfield. Now, if Anthony Richardson can average 24 yards a pass on 9 completions and almost win the game, they only lost by 2. I think DJ Moore and Keenan Allen are more than capable of taking advantage of this secondary.
Yeah, when we talk about that portion, I am with you 100%. I actually looked up Jalen Petrie before we started because I was very big on him coming into the league when he got drafted, and I was like, man, this is a great addition. I thought the Bears might consider because we needed a safety at the time he came into the league. Thank God we dodged that bullet.
Well, and Sean, if you remember correctly, the Bears had the first-hand look because of his 5 picks in his career in 3 years in the NFL. The 2 of the picks were against the Bears in that game that you mentioned.
2022.
And if it wasn't for Roquan Smith picking off a pass late in that game, and then obviously, like you said, Carlos Santos kicking that field goal, the Bears most likely would have lost that game, and it would have been in large part due to the play of Jalen Petrie. But man, since those first 8 weeks of his rookie season, he has just fallen off, man. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's personal or if maybe they changed the scheme or they changed the way they use him, but he has not been good the last few years, guys. And the Texans secondary has not been good the last few years. And I don't see that changing.
I was going to say, as we get into that and we start talking about this offensive line, I think the offensive line was exposed a little bit, but I still think there was some bright spots last week, and it wasn't as bad as it appeared. I do think they're going to be better this week, especially Tevin Jenkins. I do expect Nick Davis to be better. I don't know what to expect out of Coleman Shelton. I'm going to pray that he can block someone up the middle because I think we all are the understanding. If your offensive line can't block, you don't have anything. You need this offensive line to stand up, block somebody, give your quarterback time. But I would like to see something that we touched on Monday after the show. Something that got the Bears going towards the end of the third quarter into the fourth quarter was those misdirection plays, power run, short pass, misdirection, and they were actually moving the ball. I thought this is the way the Tennessee Titans game would start, and we'd see a lot of that throughout the game. Hopefully they picked up on that. They saw their success that they had at the end of that third quarter, and that goes into this ball game. My only fear with that and getting to the outside is you have Will Anderson, and he'll get you. He will get you.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the Texans defensive end duo might be the best in the NFL right now. I mean, it's certainly up there. It's probably in the top 5. I mean, you have Deion Hunter on one side, who is the perennial all-pro, consummate professional. He's been in the league for a long time now. He knows what he's doing. He's constantly in the backfield, constantly wreaking havoc with opposing quarterbacks. On the other side, you have Will Anderson, who's an ascending player. He was the defensive rookie of the year last year. He's an absolute beast. I think the Texans made a great move when they traded back up to number 2 to draft him last year. I love Will Anderson. He's only going to get better every game, guys. But like I said, if you want to win this game, if the Bears have any chance of winning this game, because right now, guys, the Houston Texans are a year ahead of the Chicago Bears. CJ Stroud's in his second year. He looked good in his first year. He's only going to get better, and they're a dangerous team. It's not an ideal situation for week 2 for the Bears to go into Houston prime time, their home opener, and try to knock off the Houston Texans. That's a very, very tall task. I do think the Bears can make this game more interesting than people think, though. I do not like the 7-point favorite for the Houston Texans. I think that's a little too. That's a little disrespectful.
I will tell you this. We all know that in our preseason breakdowns of the Bears and what we expected to see was a power run team to help relax Caleb, get him in the pocket, run, play action, roll out type stuff. The Houston Texans have been phenomenal at home against the run. So this is one thing that does concern me. In their last 18 home games, they have allowed 72 rushing yards per game. That, my friends, is a little bit of a problem for us. Now, with that being said, their 3 technique and their 1 technique have changed. but they did give Jonathan Taylor fits. He had 16 carries for 48 yards last week. He did get in the end zone. Our AR did get loose. What do you have? Like 6 rushes for 60 yards out of the backfield. So they did wind up giving up over 100 on the ground, but it wasn't from their running back. And we really want I really want to see DeAndre Swift get inserted into this offense and pound, because I'll tell you, we were there on last Sunday. His first 2 carries, I think he had 9, 10, 11 yards, and then they never went back to him. So for me, see if this offensive line, which I still think our strength is run blocking on this particular defensive line, get down, win your battles, let DeAndre wear out these guys so we can get some play action pass. Because I will tell you, they finished, I think, 4th last year in 94 yards per game against the run, which is actually really damn good. They were 4th in the freaking league. So that is concerning, because I'm not ready to put the game on Caleb Williams' shoulders, especially after week 1. But how in your mind do you think the Bears, extra tight ends, things like that, how do the Bears get in these trenches and dominate so they can run? Because if they can run and keep CJ Stroud off of the field, I think we have a lot better chance of winning this football game on Sunday.
Well, Sean, that's important. And like you said, the Bears have been one of the best power running teams in the NFL over the last 3 years. Their offensive line has not been good at pass blocking, but has been really good at run blocking. But unfortunately, we didn't see that week 1. The Bears did not have a good rushing game week 1. Actually, I think their best rusher in terms of yards per carry would have been Velus Jones, if you look at the stats. But I mean, whether the Bears can get the run game going early or not, they need to stick to it. You have to take time off the clock. You cannot let CJ Stroud be on the field the whole game, because you're not going to win the game like that. I think ultimately, unfortunately, I think the Bears will get back to the running ways, but it might not be this week just because of the situation. You're going into Houston. They play much better at home. Most teams do. And like I said, it wasn't a good start for the Bears rushing offense last week. This is going to ultimately, I think this game is going to fall into Caleb Williams' hands, whether we like it or not. And that's, like I said, that's not the ideal situation. You don't want your rookie quarterback going into a second game on the road in a hostile environment and taking over the game and having to win it. But if you look at Anthony Richardson last week, he ran the ball 6 times for 56 yards, which is an average of 9 yards carry. Yeah. Caleb Williams is going to have to do some of that this week. And I know he does. He said before he doesn't like running the ball. He continues to look downfield. He likes passing. But unfortunately, if the Houston Texans defense are going to give you those outs, then you have to take them. You have to take what's given to you. And I think Caleb Williams is going to have to get 50 or 60 rushing yards in this game if the Bears are going to be successful. On top of that, like I said, the Texans are not good at defending the deep ball. They're not. They average. Yes. I mean, you guys, for Anthony Richardson to complete 9 passes and still throw for 212 yards is in the NFL is insane. Those are college stats, guys. College stats. So the Texans are susceptible to that deep ball. Caleb Williams is going to, those 2 passes he missed last week, Keenan Allen down the sideline and DeAndre Carter down the sideline. He cannot miss those passes this week. This is a different team, guys. This is a much better team. The Texans are going to finish one of the best teams in the NFL, and they're going to make the playoffs. If the Bears are going to be teams like this, they have to play up to their competition. They did not have a good game against Tennessee on offense. They need to be much, much better this week if they have any chance of winning this game.
And as you were talking about taking the top off with the defense last week, and that was a Dooland and Pierce, I think a 60 and 54 yarder over the top. It's going to lead us into an early bet. I'm just going to get it out there, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to smash the DJ Moore over 60 and a half receiving yards. They allowed 23.6 yards per catch on 9 catches last week. DJ Moore went up against Ladarius Sneed. He's one of the best corners in football. He had a fantastic 2023. As it says down below, if Pearson Doolan can get open deep, I trust DJ Moore. I'm slamming him over the 60. I think he's got to be a critical part of this football game for the Chicago Bears to be successful. Now, the defense for the Chicago Bears, a couple things I'd like to talk about really quick is they got some studs on that other side of the ball. I mean, Joe Mixon is on the backside of his career. He came out, he had 33 rushes and 3 catches, touched the ball 36 times, I believe. Or 33 times for 159 yards, 5.3 per carry. He had 3 targets for 19 yards, which isn't terrible. The Bears, though, did allow, by the end of the day, I think it was 104, 105 rushing yards, and it wound up to be 5.1 yards per carry. And they also have another guy that's kind of a dude. and that is the Michigan product, Nico Collins. This guy has turned into an absolute stud. I'm going to assume we talked about this a little bit earlier, Kyle. We're going to assume that Jalen Johnson's going to be on him, but as we talked about, he's not going to be chasing around the field. So if he's switching sides, you may have some Tyreek Stevenson on him. I'm not so worried about Joe Mixon. I'm not going to lie. There was some opportunities left on the field on the Titans against the Titans last week from the secondary. Still a really exceptional secondary. How much do Nico Collins and Joe Mixon worry you in this football game? And we still got Diggs to worry about.
Well, listen, I like Joe Mixon a lot. He's been a good player in the NFL for a long time. He was great for the Bengals. I'm sure a lot of Bengals fans, for them, it was sad to see him go. But and Joe Mixon had an absolute phenomenal game last week. I'm not taking anything away from him. But once again, like you said, Sean, he carried the ball 30 times, which is pretty rare in the NFL nowadays. And he gained 159 yards on the ground, which, like you said, is over 5 yards a carry. That I can guarantee, guys, is not going to happen against the Chicago Bears. The Bears are going to commit to shutting down the run, and they're going to make C.J. Stroud beat them. The problem is C.J. Stroud is more than capable of doing that, but you have to play to your strengths. And right now for the Chicago Bears, the strongest part of this team is their secondary. So like you said, Nico Collins is awesome. I love him. He's on one of my fantasy teams. I think he's going to be a great player in the NFL for a long time. But he's also going up against Jalen Johnson and Tyreek Stevenson, two of the best corners in the NFL. And it's going to be that battle is going to be very interesting to me. So I believe that the Texans are going to try to move these guys around as much as they can, because most likely the Bears will start the game in cover two. So what they'll do is they won't play man to man. So Jalen Johnson will not stick with Nico Collins if they start moving these guys around at the line of scrimmage. If Nico Collins lines up against Jalen Johnson and they move him to the other side of the field, Jalen Johnson will move inside to the next receiver, and somebody else will have to pick up Nico Collins. They're going to do that a lot. So these guys like Tyreek Stevenson and Kyler Gordon, it's time for them to step up. They need to start showing that they can be guys who can play at this caliber that Jalen Johnson can. Because, you guys, I don't really care who it is in the NFL. Jalen Johnson has proven to me and all Bears fans and the rest of the NFL that it doesn't matter who he's guarding. It's almost impossible to throw on him. I think he's only had, if I went back and looked, I think he's only had 3 what you consider bad games in his career. And 2 of them are against Justin Jefferson, guys. Justin Jefferson's a different breed. Nico Collins is not Justin Jefferson.
No.
Ultimately, the Bears secondary is probably going to have to win this game. When you watched Houston and you watch the early successes of C.J. Stroud, it's usually when they're playing teams who play zone defense and the receivers get wide open. When these teams play man coverage against the Texans and they have guys one-on-one with their receivers like Nico Collins and Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs, teams who think they're capable of doing that. C.J. Stroud struggles when he has to throw into tight pockets. He's not nearly as good of a quarterback. Now, obviously, that's an obvious statement. Every quarterback in the NFL is better when they're throwing to open receivers, but not every defense in the NFL is capable of playing man-to-man because they don't have the corners who have this. They don't have the skill set to keep up with those guys. I believe that the Bears do. So I do think that C.J. Stroud is going to turn the ball over at some point in this game, and he's going to give the Bears the ball. The Bears have to take advantage of short fields. If the Bears can get – if Torrey Taylor can lock the Texans down deep and you get a 3-and-out and you end up with the ball at the 50, 40-yard line, whatever it may be, you have to score in those drives, and most likely you have to score touchdowns. The Bears are going to have to score touchdowns in this game. And the veterans like Keenan Allen dropping that touchdown pass last week, that stuff cannot happen in this game, guys. There's no room for mistakes against the Houston Texans, especially in their home, opening week, their house, Sunday night primetime. And you know what? I think C.J. Stroud's one of those players that loves the lights, man. I think he loves primetime. I think that's when he's going to shine. He's going to be at his best. This is an uphill battle for the Chicago Bears, and it's going to be a good test for the Bears to figure out where exactly they stand compared to the rest of the NFL.
And I do think that there are some possibilities here, especially if Darrell Taylor can repeat his performance. Montez Sweat can step up a little bit. We get that pressure from Billings up the middle. We had a great game out of Dexter, and this is a good test for the Bears. I do think they're going to keep this game close. I really do. I love that. I love the fact that the Bears created pressure last week. They created pressure the last 6 to 8 games last year after Sweat came here, and the Houston Texans give up pressure.
Yes.
So hopefully
that's a great matchup for the Chicago Bears, Sean.
Yeah.
That's another place where the game could be won. I mean, if the Texans continue to give up pressure like they have been, and the Bears continue to pressure the quarterback like they have been, this could be a long day for CJ Stroud as well.
Yep.
I mean, like I said, if you make a mistake against this Bears secondary, they're going to make you pay for it. And the linebacking core as well. They are no scrubs either. TJ Edwards had 15 tackles last year. Last week, and nobody's talking about it. He should have made the Pro Bowl last year. Jalen Johnson should have made the top 100 list last year. That's absolutely the reason these guys didn't is because it's a league of fame. It's a popularity vote, and the Bears weren't good. And teams that aren't good, their players aren't noticed as much. But I do think that CJ Stroud's going to have some pressure in his face, and I like the Bears' defensive line is better than it was last year, and it's only getting better because you have to expect guys like Javon Dexter to get better every single week. And shortly here, from what I'm hearing, is they're going to get Pickens back here sooner than later. I thought it was a serious injury in the offseason, the way they were talking about it, but it seems like it's a groin, and it's not going to be as bad as they thought it was, and he should be back soon as well, and he's only going to get better as well. The Bears' defensive line needs to create pressure for the Bears to win this game. They absolutely have to create pressure to win this game. But like you said, Sean, they did it for the last 6 weeks of last season, and they did it week 1. 3 sacks last week, 3 takeaways last week. If the Bears could do that on a regular basis, that is a recipe for winning football games in the NFL.
And you get a little bit more production. Last week, C.J. Stroud threw 32 passes. He was 24 for 32, 234 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He protected the ball. We all know Caleb Williams was a abysmal 14 of 29 for 93 yards, no interceptions, no fumbles, no touchdowns. I believe Caleb Williams is definitely going to improve on that this week. I expect him to be around 200 yards passing. I do think that they're going to be able to move the ball through the air. I do think some dink and dunks are going to be coming. Get the ball in your playmakers' hands. Keep your playmakers on the field. Give them the opportunity to make plays, something we did not see in week 1 enough.
Yeah, if CJ Stroud doesn't, or if Caleb Williams doesn't end somewhere around 200 yards passing, if he ends with less than that, it's going to be a long day for the Chicago Bears guys. I mean, the Texans are going to score. You can slow them down, but you can't stop them. They're going to score. There's just too many playmakers on that team. It's a good offensive line. They have a really good coach, a really good offensive coordinator in Kubiak. This team is a very good team, and it's going to be a tough task for the Bears to beat them. One thing I will say is, like we talked about earlier, Joe Mixon ran the ball 30 times last week. I think he caught 3 passes. So ultimately, he was hit 33 times. The Bears players have adopted this hits principle very well. I mean, they love it. They whether we like them or not, the Bears defense loves Matt Eberflus. They buy into everything he says. If Joe Mixon carries the ball 20 times in this game, they're going to hit him hard, and he's going to pay for it. And it's going to probably more likely he's going to ask to probably get a speed. Like every once in a while, a player goes, right, hey, can you guys give me a playoff here? You're probably going to see some of that against the Bears because, man, their linebackers and secondary, they hit you hard. And if Joe Mixon carries the ball 30 times, he's going to feel it. He's going to feel it on Monday for sure.
I love what you said there because he is an older player. I will say, and I know it's preseason, we don't want to look too much, and I don't think he got on the field last week. I don't remember seeing him in the box score. I could be wrong on this. But Cam Akers looked pretty fresh and looked really good in the spring. So him coming in, that could give them some fresh legs. I mean, he looked like the old Cam Akers that everyone thought he was going to be in the Rams. It's preseason. I get it. Let's see what he does. I think the Bears are going to have a better day against the run. I think it's going to be C.J. Stroud. Hey, come out and beat us. See what the secondary does, matching up against Tank Dell and Diggs and Nico Collins. Today,
and don't forget about Dalton Schultz, Sean. He's certainly no scrub. That guy can.
I was just going to touch on him. Dalton Schultz did not practice today. Dalton Schultz popped up on the injury report with an ankle injury. We'll have to wait until tomorrow, see if he's going to practice tomorrow, but he did not practice.
Who's their backup tight end? Is it Jordan?
Oh, you know what? I don't know. I didn't even look at the depth chart to see who that was, actually.
Is it the guy who gave the Bears the first pick in the draft?
Jordan Atkins?
Is that the guy who caught the touchdown against? That was Indy, right?
I actually forgot to profess my love for Mr. Atkins and the Houston Texans for 2 years ago, that big victory over Indy and propelling us into DJ Moore and Tyreek Stevenson. Thank you, Lovie Smith.
And you know what? Guys, I'm a Bears fan through and through. I always root for the Bears against every team in the NFL, but it's hard not to like this Texans team, man. It really is. They're young. They have a young head coach who looks like he's going to be a good coach in this league for a long time. And I love CJ Stroud. I love everything about him. Not to mention the fact that I said the year that he was being drafted, you should take CJ Stroud over Bryce Young. And it's always nice to be right every once in a while, isn't it, Sean?
It is, because I was saying that along with you, my brother. Really quick on the Bears front, if anyone missed it, we had two wide receivers down today. Keenan Allen did not practice. Roma Dunze, as expected, did not practice. Zach Pickens, Karan, Ryan Bates, and Blasingame all were limited. Blasingame has a hand and knee injury. Bates has a shoulder and elbow issue. We all know about Karan's quad, and obviously Zach Pickens still with that groin. We'll obviously have to wait on any of these injuries. I, at this point, don't feel like I have anything concerning that Keenan Allen won't play in this football game. I'm assuming he's going to play. Anything could happen, a la T. Higgins on Friday popping up with a hamstring and ultimately did not play. So we'll keep an ear to the wall on that. Really quick, I want to say hi, Stephanie, Dustin, PT57, Michael, Bruce, all y'all. Joe Dicka, thank you guys for checking in. Hit that like and subscribe. We really appreciate you being here, because without you guys, we're just talking to ourselves.
Well, and you know what? Here we go for PT57's comment right here. He says Bears need to get Kmet more and Swift more involved. O-line needs to block. I agree with you 100%, man. I mean, what was it, Sean? I think there was 10 plays last week where the Bears' four best skill position players were on the field at the same time. That cannot happen again, guys.
Yep.
Kmet, if Allen is healthy, more Kmet, Allen, and Swift need to be on the field a lot. Those are your best players. Those are the guys who've been making impacts in the NFL for a long time. And those are the guys the Bears decided to bring here and pay. Those are the guys need to be on the field together for at least 50% of the game this week. Sean, do you know who's? I'm Roma Dunze is not going to play this week, guys.
No,
I'll tell you that
he
right
should
now.
not play this game. Even
do you know?
Do
you have any idea who are they bringing? Are they bringing Colin Johnson up from the practice squad, or are they playing?
I did hear that.
Tyler Scott?
Hear that was going to be it, and Tyler Scott should be active. And I do have to make a correction. On Monday's show, when I talked about the personnel, I was a little fired up, and I threw Tyler Scott's name in there that he was on the field. He wasn't active on Monday, so that was a little faux pas by me. I do apologize for that one, but it was the point of they didn't have their playmakers on the field enough. Well, their actual playmakers were, I don't know, drinking coffee, talking to each other, I don't know, reading texts, but they have to get these guys on the field. Playmakers make plays. That's how you win games in this gosh darn league. So hopefully they learn.
And I hope that Shane Waldron took that game plan he had last week, takes it, crumples it up, and throws it in the garbage, man, because you cannot see any more of that. I mean, first of all, like we said, he had those two plays downfield that he missed to Keenan Allen and DeAndre Carter, but they were still good play calls because Keenan Allen and DeAndre Carter got wide open, guys. Caleb Williams just missed them. And he's going to do that. He's a rookie. He's going to miss some of those passes. But the only way for him to learn is to keep throwing those passes. And you know what? We should be grateful as Bears fans that he missed those passes long instead of short, and they weren't picked off, because we've seen a lot of that in Chicago from quarterbacks here for a long time. And the good news is Keenan Allen made the right throws. He made the right plays. He went to the right spot. He just overthrew it. Yeah. You need more of that against the Texans. You have to throw – the ball has to be thrown downfield against the Houston Texans. It has to. That's the only way to keep up with them. It's the only way to beat them.
And regardless of him saying, we heard on Hard Knocks, I don't get nervous. He was nervous. I expect him to be a little bit more calm. I don't think he expected the speed of the game. I think there was a lot of things that caught him off guard, including 750 pounds of man running after him.
Well, and Sean, couldn't you just...
One thing he cannot do is take a 19-yard sack.
Yeah, you could tell that
be a little bit better than that.
He just wasn't used to the NFL speed. You could tell, because you know what? I think if he makes that play in college football where he ran backward 19 yards and ultimately got sacked, I think when he makes that play in college, he gets away and makes a miraculous play, because the speed's not the same. But these guys in the NFL, even these 240, 280, 290 pounders, these guys can run 4.5s, man. It's a different league. These are the best in the world.
I think he learned that with Sweat last week, because isn't Sweat pushing 400 pounds? And that guy got after him, man. I mean, he had a motor on him. He's not
quite that big, but yeah, he's a mammoth of a man.
So yeah, well, I think that we've covered our bases. Is there anything else that's going to stick out? I think the Bears pound, run the ball, short game, get it out.
Sean, let's hear your prediction there. Let's Bears Texans Sunday night.
Well, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be honest.
Here we go, guys.
I thought about this long and hard, and as much as I said I don't want to be a homer. in here. I'm going to take the Bears to win this game, and I think they're going to do it off of their ability to get after the quarterback, slow down CJ Stroud, that secondary slowing down those receivers. I don't think Joel Mixon's rushing for 160 yards. I think Caleb Williams is going to relax, and I'm going to put my faith in Shane Waldron coming back this week with a much better game plan, and the Bears finding a way to win this game 24-23. The Bears. What do you got, Kyle?
Unfortunately, Sean, as much as I love the Bears, I can't see them going into Houston on Sunday night primetime in Houston's house and winning. But I do think the Bears are going to make this a game. I ultimately going to choose the Bears to lose 21-24. I think Caleb Williams has a much better game this week. I think he's going to throw from anywhere from 200 to 220 yards and probably end up with somewhere around 2 touchdowns. Whether that be rushing or passing, I really don't care as long as he can get 2 touchdowns. I think the Bears will also run a touchdown and or get a defensive touchdown, one or the other. And I think this game is ultimately going to be a very close game. Now, I know there's no such thing, guys, as moral victories. A loss is a loss and a win is a win. At the end of the season, the NFL doesn't care about moral victories. But if the Bears can make this game and Caleb Williams can look like an NFL quarterback, it's going to be a big deal for the Chicago Bears because, man, after the Texans, you guys, it's a cakewalk. I mean, this is
a lot easier.
The Bears need to improve on this game, win or loss. It doesn't matter. They need to come out of this game feeling better about themselves, and they need to start figuring out who they are, what the identity is, and they need to figure out how to plan a game plan every single week that's similar but adjust it to each team, obviously.
Yeah, I'm gonna be hard pressed. I know this is a homer call, and I should be a little bit more subjective. I'm probably going to pick the Bears to go 17-0 on Wednesdays.
All right, guys. That is not in Sean's bets, by the way. That is just
not in my bets. But the monsters are back, baby.
Don't anybody jump on the FanDuel.
Yeah, don't jump on the 17-0. They're going to lose some games. There's a really good chance they're going to lose in South Texas this weekend. I was going to actually pick the Bears to lose this game, but when I started looking at the pressure that they allow versus the pressure that the Bears can produce, and the Bears are good against the run, they got this solid secondary that can shut down all these playmakers. You know, obviously they're still going to get they're going to get their yards, they're going to make some plays, they're going to score some points. I just think at crunch time, I think the Bears are going to be able to make some plays and shut them down, late field goal. And, you know, they're up 23-21, and we get another walk-off Santos field goal.
Well, I will say, I think one of Caleb Williams' best drive, which nobody is talking about, one of his best drives was the drive last week to run out the clock, to try to take as much time away from the Tennessee Titans as he possibly could. I mean, I think the Bears got 3 first downs on that drive, and they did it, and they kind of squeaked their way down the field, which is exactly what you have to do when you're trying to run out the clock. I mean, Sean, I hope the Bears win. That would be absolutely amazing. That would change my opinion on this team completely, and we would start to have to talk about playoffs. But that it's just such a tall task. I will say, I don't think the Houston Texans are looking at this game on the schedule and going, "Oh, no, that's a tomato can. That's an easy one." Yeah. The Bears are not the same team they were last year. They're much more competitive, and hopefully, CJ Stroud, the bell tolls for the. I mean, it's if they rush the quarterback like this week, like they did last week, it's going to be a long day for CJ Stroud as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with Dustin here. The number to hold the Texans to is definitely under 24 if they're gonna get this win.
Yeah, I agree.
I would like them to hold them to 17. I think if they can hold them to 17, they got a legit shot to win this football game. Yep. It's not going to be an easy game. I don't think the Bears, are going to get dog walked. And if they do, I'm going to have a lot more questions than I have answers.
It'll be a totally different show on Monday than it was last week. I can tell you that. If it ends up 42-3, it's going to be a long season, guys.
Yeah, I don't see that I don't see that happening. And God, I'm knocking on wood, guys, that doesn't happen.
I will say this, Sean. They need to come out with a fire on their ass because last week they were not prepared to play that football game. They were Velus Jones fumbling that kickoff. They were making mistakes. They had a couple pre-snap penalties. The Bears cannot do that this week. They have to come out ready to play. They have to match every drive that the Texans have. The Bears need to match it.
their best drive of the game when they actually started moving that ball ended in a bad snap on third down. It was a fumbled snap that Caleb picked up, but it threw the timing of the playoff and ended their best drive of the game, so to speak, because they were actually moving the football.
Are you talking about the opening? Was it the opening drive?
No, late in the third quarter when they started moving the ball after the 66-yard punt, they actually started moving the ball. That drive ended with a
and
fumble.
what's disappointing about that, particularly in the coaching, is you guys, for those of you who don't watch a ton of football, the first drive of the game for both offenses is scripted. Those plays have been predetermined. So obviously the team cannot go out and script an entire game. But the first drive of the game for both sides, both teams, is scripted. So the first drive of the game should look good for both teams. And you see that a lot in the NFL. I think the Jets and Niners scored on their first drive. I mean, you see it all the time where two teams come out. The Ravens and Chiefs both scored on the first drives, but then they both slowed down a lot after that. Yeah, the first drive of the game, the Bears should at least be kicking a field goal. Even if they don't make it, they should be close enough to kick a field goal. This week, that you cannot come out with a 3-and-out. If the Bears lose a time of possession by a lot, if it's like a 10-minute difference, they're going to lose this game. You can't,
100%.
Obviously people are going to come back and say, well, Kyle, the Bears lost the time possession battle last week. Yeah, but the Bears won in luck, guys. I mean, you're not going to get a punt return touchdown and a pick six every single week. That's not going to happen. Eventually your offense is going to have to score points.
Yeah, you have to play. You have to, it's the old adage. Who was it that said it? You have to play to win the game.
Yeah.
I don't know that the Bears did that last week.
Game.
So hold on one quick second here. Why can't I get this in? Okay. Sorry, we were going to lose connection there. I was dying. So yeah, as we go on, there's our prediction, guys. I honestly, in my heart of hearts, I think the Bears have a shot. I'm taking them to win. I'm not going to be surprised at all if they lose this football game. The only thing that would shock me is if the Texans, we went into Houston and got dog walked by these guys.
You guys, Sean knows me. I hate being wrong, but God, I hope I'm wrong. And the Bears, I would love it if the Bears come out and win 50-0. My prediction looks like I look like an idiot, but I wouldn't be upset about it at all in any way, shape, or form, guys. I promise.
I do agree with Dustin here. This is the biggest matchup that will decide the game is our corners against their receivers. I agree 100% with that.
Yeah, what we just talked about.
Yep, we just talked about that. And Caleb on PT57 came in the scoring drive, one drop. Yep, I agree 100%. I do think that's why I think we're going to get into the end zone, and I honestly don't think it's going to be through on the ground based on these numbers. If you go back, I don't think the Texans have given up a lot of rushing touchdowns at home either. So.
Dustin says your elbows look like Robin Williams' knuckles. That's a Sean's Harry joke, guys. But well said by Jay. Yeah, those field goals have to turn into touchdowns, man. And in his Caleb Williams' defense, they did have a drop touchdown from Keenan Allen, which is probably not going to happen very often. Another thing is the Bears got better as that game went on, and as long as they can do that every game and throughout the entire season, by the end of the season, this should be a good football team, right? They have the roster on paper to be a good football team. They just need to put it all together. Caleb Williams, I expect him 100% fully expect him to get better every single week, and even from quarter to quarter in each particular game, like he did last week. The Bears' best 3 drives last week were in the third and fourth quarter, so they just need to continue that into the next week, guys.
And that was kind of the way it went in that Buffalo game too. In the preseason, it was stagnant.
3-and-outs. Yep, 3-and-outs. Then you got comfortable.
Yeah, I think we're going to expect to see some of that. And I am guys stretching this and saying the Bears are going to win. I would bet the Bears plus the 7, though I have not yet. But
so as would I. That's a slap in the face, man. I mean, they're basically what the NFL liked this Bears team coming into the season. And then they watched that performance last week, and they basically knocked him down a peg. You guys, like week 1 is it's a strange week. It happens every year in the NFL. I told people this every year. Don't read too much into week 1, guys, because like the Bengals losing to the Patriots. Those two teams play 10 times. The Bengals win 9 out of 10 times, guys. It's just week 1 is strange stuff.
They should have won that game. They dropped, from what I understand, a couple.
They fumbled 2 balls within the 5-yard line. Yeah, that can't happen. When you do that, generally, guys in the NFL, whoever wins the turnover battle is going to win the game. If you go back and look at that record, it's not in the favor of the team that loses the turnover battle.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is money coming in on the Chicago Bears because this morning at 11 a.m. when I was looking over prop bets, they were +7. The line has now dropped to the Chicago Bears +6. So keep that
and
money coming in the
an
Bears.
hour ago it was 6.5. So it didn't just make that leap from 6 to
Yep.
7. They're slowly trickling that thing down.
Yep. People are slamming money on the Bears because they're saying exactly what you're thinking, Kyle. It's a very disrespectful line to have the Bears 7-point underdogs in Houston this weekend.
Well, it's just especially for a team that is so good on, like, if you look at the roster on paper, and you really don't know what to expect from them because you've only seen one game with them. So it's the Bears. It wouldn't surprise me at all if the Bears could threw for 96 yards of offense last week, and this week they throw for 290 yards of offense. It's going to be it's a rookie quarterback. It's going to be up and down season, just like it was for CJ Stroud last year. Ultimately, hopefully, it's a successful season. We end up 10-7 as well. That would be awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have given you our picks. We're going to move into props for this week. And I do have to apologize because unlike week 1, they did not put out all the props earlier this afternoon, last Wednesday, as of the pick through every game and pick out what I liked. I just tried to look at Atlanta, Washington, and Terry McLaurin's line wasn't out. I just tried to look at
Carolina.
Chargers, and McConkey's line's not out. But guys, pay attention to our Facebook page. I'm going to drop a bunch more than the ones we're about to give you that we think could hit this week. Kyle's going to say he's going to fade or follow me. We were 8 for 12 last week, ladies and gentlemen. We hit the James Cook over 88. We hit the Tua over 266. We missed on the Pacheco over 2.5 catches. He wound up with 1. Kenneth Walker, we smashed. He was over 67. He was over 100 yards, even with his injury. We missed on Amon St. Brown and what I would consider an oddity, not catching 80 yards in a game. He averaged 94 last year, especially against the poor secondary he was playing. It was a Jamison Williams come-out game. Nobody saw that coming, that's for sure. We hit the over 8.5 on Will Levis rushing. He had 34 yards, I believe, against the Bears. I missed on the James Cook anytime touchdown. I really thought he would break one against Arizona and get into the end zone. So that's another one we missed. But we smashed the over. We smashed the over on the Eagles. We lost that one, but we did nail the under on the Ravens and the Chiefs. So that was 49. They ended at 47. If he catches that touchdown, we're talking about another miss. But thank God that was missed. And
game of inches, guys. It's the game of inches.
another check in the box for us. So this week we're gonna do. I only have a couple right now. Like I said, we're gonna throw them up on the Facebook page because I am. Got a busy day at work tomorrow, and after that, I'm going to be leaving town for a few days. So pay attention to that. We'll try.
And you guys, you know what?
Pockets.
Brandon and Sean will also be on the 4-Star Chicago Sports Podcast, or Brandon and Dustin, sorry, later on this week. Tune into that show, and I'm sure they'll have a couple of prop bets for you guys as well there.
Absolutely. So my first prop bet that I'm going to run here. A lot to do with Thursday night football at this moment, but I'm going to roll with Josh Allen anytime touchdown score. This has hit 15 of his last 20 games. You know, if that ball gets inside the 5, especially if it gets a third down, Josh Allen's lowering that shoulder. He's going to try and plow into that end zone. Kyle, would you fade or follow, slam this, or say, I don't think that's going to happen against the Dolphins on Thursday night football?
I'd slam it. I would slam it 100%.
Right.
Not only would I slam that, but I would actually even consider taking Josh Allen's rush plus pass yards right now is 285.5. And I would consider taking the over on that as well. I think ultimately Josh Allen will end up with 300 yards of offense total, but that one's a little bit riskier, guys. But these two teams tend to score against each other when they play each other. It's not very rare that it's a defensive battle, and the Miami Dolphins just lost Wilkinson in the middle of that defensive line, and that's a huge hit for them. I think the Dolphins ultimately, I know they looked good against week 1 against the Jaguars, but ultimately I think the Dolphins defense will finish somewhere in the middle of the pack. This is going to be a good opportunity for Josh Allen to add to his fantasy godlike skills. That
this directly leads me.
Sean, do you want to pay some bills real quick before we?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so guys, we'd like to thank one of our sponsors, River Street Tavern in East Dundee, 102 North River Street. If you guys are out there in the area, please go check it out. It's a great restaurant, great bar. It's a sports bar through and through. They have a bunch of TVs. You can check out the Bears, the Cubs, or if you guys want to watch other sports that may be on TV, they have plenty of TVs, plenty of boxes. They also have good food specials, good drink specials, and a great staff. Go check it out if you guys are in the area. It's River Street Tavern in East Dundee.
102
North River Street.
And just remember, guys, if you're looking for a place to watch the Bears game, River Street this year for every Bears game is giving away a Bears jersey. Our buddy Josh won this Sunday and Caleb Williams' debut. They'll have another jersey Sunday night as the Bears take on the Houston Texans. And off of your last comment about the combined rushing and passing leads me into my next prop. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish I would have gotten this when it first came out. Josh Allen opened at 230 yards passing in this game. It's up to 245. It jumped really fast. A couple of notes on Josh Allen in this series that's going to lead us into our next prop. His last 5 against Miami, he's averaged 347 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. That's not the last game. That's per game against Miami, his last 5. His last 10, he's averaged 307 passing yards. I am smashing this. I've already smashed it 3 times in 3 different bets.
God, I love Josh Allen. He is such a beast. Yeah, I'm smashing that bet too, Sean. That's for me personally, guys. This is not week 1 anymore. That to me is a gimme. I mean, I don't want to. Maybe I'll have to eat my words at some point. But man, Josh Allen is a beast, guys, and it doesn't. People keep saying, "Oh man, he lost all of his weapons." Look at him last week, guys. It doesn't matter. He scored 4 touchdowns. He was responsible for 4 touchdowns. He is good at football, and he likes to win. So, whenever you go on to Josh Allen's props and they got him low like that, I would recommend taking the over on most weeks, unless he's playing some phenomenal defense.
That leads us into our next one because you said these are always slugfests. I'm hammering the 48.5 and the over. It's hit 6 of the last 10 matchups. I will say be wary. Of these 6 of the last 10, it's only hit the over in Miami twice. But I don't feel like these defenses are caught up. I feel like Tyreek Hill's going to have a big day. I think Josh Allen's going to have a big day.
It's supposed to be beautiful out.
It's going to be beautiful out. And I think Khalil Shakur, which is going to lead us into our next one. Now, I will put a little caveat into this because it is early and I do like to play it safe. I just, before we went on, I put this into a parlay with Josh Allen's over and anytime touchdown. I just dumbed it down to 46. I just lowered it 2 points. Didn't change the bet too much, but anytime that I can lower a number and not affect my bet that much, and I feel a little bit better about it, especially seeing that it's been over 48, 6 of their last 10 matchups. These are usually shootouts, as Kyle just stated a couple of minutes ago. I feel pretty comfortable because I feel like Thursday night defense is on short rest. I think it's going to be an offensive show. Thursday night football is always sloppy, but Josh Allen's going to take full advantage of this, and I think he's going to have a great day. You like the over in this game as well?
I do. I would also do the same thing Sean did. I would move that number down just a little bit, guys, just because, like Sean said, Thursdays are sloppy. You never know what you're going to get in the first quarter until these teams settle down and get back into football mode because they're on such short rest from last week. But I do like the over in this game. I would like it a lot better if they had it at 47.5, but I'm still taking the over on the 48.5.
I will tell you this: if this first quarter ends 0-0, I'm going to be extremely worried about even the 46.
Yeah, but you're talking about 2 teams who also can score in a hurry, man. Especially the Miami Dolphins; they can score in about 9 seconds.
Yeah, what was that? That Tyreek touchdown? That was bang bang and happened super fast.
Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle can take one to the house on a screen pass or a slant route at any given moment in this game.
We also, and I'm going to stay pounding on this Bills offense, guys. I was going to take Tyreek Hill over. His prop is at 97.5 receiving yards. Hey, I don't play lines that high. He's probably, there's a good chance he's going to hit it. I don't like to do that myself. I like to find something comfortable where I feel like I'm going to win. I mean, what if he gets hurt at 80 yards? I'm not saying that he will, and I hope he doesn't, but it just such a high number. It scares me a lot. But
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks because any other game he'd get that in one play. It'll be the guy that'll be the one time you bet on it that it'll be one of his worst games of this year of his career.
So we're gonna go back to this, and I'm gonna start with the over. I'm gonna say I have Khalil Shakur over 3.5 receptions. He had 3 targets on 3 catches for 41 yards and a tutty in week 1. But I want to switch to this. He's playing in the slot. The slot guy, Kadir Kahui. I don't want to butcher his name. I probably just did, but he is.
You did.
He's one of the bottom cover corners or slot cover corners in the league. He ranks 20th. Khalil Shakur is the 4th best slot receiver, minimum 12 receptions in the league. I think he's going to look for Shakur early. He's going to look for him often. I think if he can get 40 yards last week against Arizona, I think he's going to do that again this week. I think I already played it. I combined that as a 2-legger. I took him over to 3. I left it at 40.5. I was very tempted to throw a touchdown in there, but I didn't because
don't.
I went with Dalton Kincaid for the touchdown this week as my anytime touchdown scorer outside of Josh Allen.
Yeah, let me tell you guys, besides rushing, I do not do anytime touchdown scorers for tight ends or wide receivers, guys. Those are very tough. It's a toss-up, man. Dalton Kincaid can get you all the way down the field, 7 catches for 86 yards, and then he'll throw it to somebody you've never heard of before who just snakes touchdowns. And those bets have burned me a lot, so just be careful with those. But I definitely like the Josh Allen anytime touchdown scorer as a rushing quarterback. Yep. The Shakir one, I like the 40.5 over for sure because, like you said, Kadir Kahu he's not going to work there very much longer. But I do like over the 40.5. I think Shakir's actually going to be a really good player for the Bills this year. I think him and Josh Allen already kind of have some chemistry going. I just don't like those anytime touchdowns for receivers or tight ends, guys. It's just tough.
So, and as Kyle just touched on, your tight end can get you 7 receptions and get you all the way down, and then a touchdown goes to somebody else. This reminds me of a certain Dolphins game last year. At the end of the year, as I had Dalton Kincaid on my fantasy team. He's my risky play of the week. They lowered his number to 36.5 receptions. Oh my God. I threw 100 on this as soon as I saw that. I think he's going to bounce back. 1/7/24. He had 7 for 85. But Dawson Knox got the touchdown. Yeah, but all in all, he had 2 for 22. The tight ends dominated the Dolphins in their last matchup. And I kind of feel like Kincaid is more of a hybrid, not just a tight end. He can play outside. He can go inside. He can be all over the field. I think I'm going to pray last week was an anomaly. If he can't smash these 36 receiving yards, I am going to lose my freaking mind because he's my tight end 1 in the big money league. So
yeah, you guys, as you know, first of all, I'd like to apologize for all the bets I put up on the screen last week in the comments for the tight ends. Terrible week for the tight ends. I do expect that to change completely. I think all the tight ends bounce back this week. I think Kelsey will have a good game. I think Kincaid will have a good game. I think McBride will have a good game this week. I do like Kincaid over 36.5. I just don't like the anytime touchdown score. And Sean, that's a good reason. A good point is, Dawson Knox is that guy who has 2 catches and one of them's a touchdown every single time he has a catch. He's
your fantasy day.
Yeah, he's good at snaking touchdowns. But I do ultimately believe that Dalton Kincaid's going to play a very big role in this offense and be a very important player for the Bills this year. I do want to give you one of mine real quick, Sean. I apologize. Absolutely. I apologize if you had it written down somewhere, but
no.
Last week, you nailed the James Cook over-under on rush plus receptions. I'm going to do it again. We're going to double up, guys, because right now, as of today, it's 83.5, and I think I think James Cook can get that in receiving yards this week. I think the Dolphins are susceptible to running backs out of the backfield, especially with their linebacking core, and I think that ultimately James Cook is going to end up above 84 yards rushing and receiving.
I actually looked at that and I was going to add it to my list, but since I played it last week, I decided not to. But I'm going to tell you at 83, I kind of do like that a little bit. And I don't know that I saw it at 83. I'm 83. Sorry, huh?
And Mike, we are not Eagles fans on this show. We are Bears fans. So you can take your birds elsewhere.
Let's go. You know what? I was an Eagles fan last Friday night.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I gave Mike his props for that. I always appreciate the team that beats the Packers. I'll always love that team that week. But the second that week's over, Philly can move on now.
yeah, I'm done. I'm done with Philadelphia. I'm still mad at them for ending Jim Miller in the playoff game when Hugh Douglas
Hugh
broke his
Douglas, yeah,
shoulder. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, I really, really do. I really, really do like that what you just said with that 83. And another one we were talking about that is not released yet is Lad McConkey. We were talking about that pregame. And Kyle, if you want to touch on that, I'm going to sneak in here really quick and see if they put a number up on him yet because I love Mr. Ladd.
Yeah, so guys, right, this week the Chargers are playing the Carolina Panthers, and if anybody who watched the game last week, the Carolina Panthers are not a good football team. They're not a good organization, and they're not a good business. I think not only are the Chargers going to win that game, but if you guys can find Ladd McConkey anywhere less than 40 on the over/under for receiving yards, so if they have him at over/under 39 and a half, 38 and a half, somewhere around there, which I ultimately think is where it's going to end up being. Take the over. Take the over. I mean, if Shaheed can get 3 catches for 70-something yards and a touchdown against this Panthers defense, a guy like Shakir, who's more of a possession receiver and ultimately demands more targets, McConkey, should have no problems hitting that over, guys. He's going to be a big part of the Chargers offense this year. And one thing I'll tell you about Jim Harbaugh, he likes him a lot. And when he likes his players, man, he gets them involved. At every team he's ever been on, he gets the players he likes involved. And like I said, guys, you can also throw in the Chargers winning that game as a parlay with that over under receiving yards for Ladd McConkey.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I love Ladd McConkey. I'm going to be looking for him. I just looked this up. They are a noon game. There are no rushing, receiving, quarterback. There are no props released for that game. I don't know what's taking so long this week. Usually this is when you get in, and I'll be honest, guys, I try and look Wednesday. I'm going to be up really early in the morning tomorrow, so I'll be looking for these bets because you got to get them early before this money comes in, because once this money comes in, that 38 can turn to 45, and you don't want that. You want it at the lowest point possible, and that's exactly when it comes out. And that's why I'm kicking myself, because I probably would have threw $1,000 on Josh Allen over 230 yards if I saw that when that first came out. I actually saw it online on one of the gambling sites that I follow, and I popped it open. By the time I popped it open,
It's really surprising to me that they had it that low to begin. I wonder why they would do that, because by all accounts, it's supposed to be really nice weather out there.
Yeah.
And Josh Allen in these games, like you said, Sean, what was his average for the last 5 meetings?
347.
I mean, that's insane, guys. If he's averaging 350 yards a game, that means some games he's getting close to 400 or probably even over. I mean, that sounds like a slam dunk to me.
Here, even on the low end, over his last 10, he's at 307. I mean, unless they know something we don't, and they're running the ball 700 times with Ray Davis and James Cook.
Josh Allen's going to break his ankle.
I don't know, man.
Hey, Mike, thanks for joining us, man. I wanted to say I appreciate you guys watching. That means a lot to us. Thank you very much, man.
Yeah, it really does. We got Steve in the house. What's going on, Steve?
What's up, brother?
What's up, brother? We got
Stevie,
Dustin
man.
still checking in. Elizabeth's in here. She just said, "Take your birds elsewhere." If I can get it up there. We got Dustin. Dustin's favorite pick for his divisions was the Chargers as his sleeper to make the playoffs. They did nothing to go against that. In week 1, they actually looked really good under the tutelage.
Yeah, and if you guys missed that, go back and watch that show, because Dustin it's very well said. He makes some very good points as to why the Chargers can make the playoffs. And first and foremost is Jim Harbaugh, which I think all Bears fans wish the Bears would have cut ties with Matt Eberflus and brought him in here, but too little too late. And now he's going to make the Chargers a competitive and really good team. And I expect them. I don't just expect them to beat the Panthers, guys. I expect them to win pretty handily.
I do too. Guys, we're going to do, before we get out of here, because we're going to be wrapping this show up pretty quickly here, I got a few smash starts at quarterback, at running back, and wide receiver. I did not make it to the tight ends. After last week, we said this on Monday: McBride with 8, Kincaid with 2, Kelsey with 6, Andrews with 3, Ingram with 1, Laporta with 4. They had 25.9 points combined in week 1. I'm going to give the tight ends 1 week to get this corrected, which I think they will this week, and then we'll get some props back on them.
Well,
Next-
not even as much the tight ends, but the offensive coordinators to start
Yeah.
to pull their heads out of their asses and start
get these
getting
guys
their
involved.
yeah, especially a guy like Cole Kmet.
I'm gonna go with a guy that we've just been talking about. I'm gonna go Josh Allen in Miami, and I'm gonna go Stafford in Arizona. Arizona's defense is god awful, guys. They are so bad. They can't stop a freaking nosebleed, man. Every week in smash starts, it's gonna be someone that's facing Denver, Seattle, or Arizona. I'm not gonna lie about that. And if you're a fan of them, I apologize, but they got to fix their defense.
Sean, real quick, tell me if you could. Can you change the number for receptions for Cooper Kupp? Is that posted yet? Are those guys in there yet?
Let's see.
I want to see what happens if you change Cooper Kupp's catches to like 10.
Cooper Kupp. Where is Arizona and the Rams? Let's see. They
If
might
you
not
could-
have props out for this yet either.
Oh man, I want to see. I just want to see what the number
Oh, they
would
do.
be. Let's see what if you change his put his receptions up as high as you can.
They do not have receptions out yet. They
Oh,
have
man.
only receiving yards at the moment.
That's one thing to keep close on, guys. I'm gonna guess his over under for receptions is probably be somewhere around 7. If it's anything like last week with 21 targets, I expect him to have a lot of catches this week unless he gets hurt.
Here, I'm not gonna lie. Cooper Kupp is my guy this week. He's my number one smash start wide receiver, man. I have no doubt in my mind about that. This, as I was just saying, this Arizona defense is putrid, and I mean they probably couldn't stop us on the field. I'll be honest; they're that bad. The only other part of a defense that's that bad is Denver's rush defense. So that's going to lead me. We're going to get back to this here. But let's hit some comments and we'll get back. PT57 giving a big shout out to NIU. They made the top 25 after upsetting the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in South Bend this weekend. A big shout out to the Huskies. Good job, Northern Illinois. We got Mike in the house. What's up, guys?
What's up, Mike?
We got another Eagles fan. We were fans last week, guys. Thank you for joining us, though.
He said he's talking about UW.
Oh, UW.
Cross
Okay.
Eagles fan. What's up, Mike? We appreciate you joining us, man. Thanks for checking it out.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. What, Sean? Can you go back to that comment that he had? He said
Which one?
There it is. His son is a linebacker there.
Oh, nice. I missed that. I apologize, Mike.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is great.
Yeah, man. We hope he's doing well out there.
UW Lacrosse. We have Dustin checking in. The Eagles are going to be a top 5 team in this league this year. They're really good. Mike says, yes, sir, Mike. And with Puka out easily over 10 targets, Mike, I can't agree with you more.
Yeah. I'm sure I know there's been games with more than 21 targets to receiver like Cooper Kupp had last week, but I can't think of them. I think Burnham Marshall had 19 catches in one game once. So I'm assuming his target's probably around 23, 24, somewhere in there. But man, it's been a long time since I've seen targets in the 20s. I mean, he is obviously Matthew Stafford's boy. That's his guy, man. That's obviously who he feels most comfortable with. And why defenses don't think to themselves, hey guys, let's just take Cooper Kupp out of the game and see what else they do. I don't understand it, because even when they know it's coming, he still has his 11 catches for 140 yards and a touchdown.
Hey, Mike, we're going to want updates all year on this team, so keep checking in and let us know exactly where you guys are at. Marshall PT57 checking in with Marshall with the record of 22 receptions.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous.
And hey guys,
I can't imagine what the targets were.
I went to smash starts and I forgot. I'm gonna throw one more smash prop, 2 more actually, that I really love this week, and we're gonna go visit one of our old good friends who hasn't been gone that long. But let's bring in no longer JF1, it's JF2. And I like Justin Fields over 45 rushing yards against this Denver D. They were gashed last week for $146. They ended last year giving up 137 yards on the ground. He had 57 rush yards last week. Guys, jump on that number before it rises, because I think that number is going to rise pretty quickly. I've already thrown a little bit of cash on it. And the other one I have in that same game is Najee Harris. he didn't have the best performance, but he's never been the most efficient running back at all. He had 20 carries for 70 and 3.5 yards per carry last week, but his over under is 53.
Yeah, the only thing that scares me about that bet in particular is he technically was not listed on the injury report, guys, but Jalen Warren was banged up all preseason. And I know last week they talked about how they were going to try to limit his role because he was probably still a little bit sore, still dealing with that injury.
Yeah.
I do expect Jalen Warren. I don't think Najee Harris is going to average 20 carries a game. I do expect Jalen Warren to get more involved in the offense as the season goes on. And obviously, as you know, Justin Fields is going to take away a lot of carries from the running backs as well. So the over on Najee Harris, the 53.5, does scare me a little bit. Guys, I'm not saying it's not going to hit, but just be a little more cautious with that one. I do think the Justin Fields is a slam dunk. 100%. I'm mind blown that they started that prop at that low. That's crazy. 45.5. I mean, has Justin Fields ever not rushed for 45.5 yards in a game? He's played defenses much better than the Denver Broncos.
Get the greenbacks out and put him on Justin Fields. I'm gonna look and see. I'm gonna look right now and see if that's changed, because that was this morning at 11 a.m. when I was looking at all this stuff. Pittsburgh and Denver. Let's see here. And currently right now the rushing props are gone. I actually did not get those from DraftKings. I got them from MGM Grand, I'm pretty sure. I had to look around because I do prefer DraftKings, guys, but DraftKings is messing around this week and not putting out props early enough for us to get on this show. So I believe both of those are from MGM Grand. If you're on DraftKings, I guarantee that 45.5 is going to open up a lot higher than that. So if you're on MGM, go grab it, slam some money on it, because you're going to win some cash on that one, my friends. Najee is an angry run regular. For sure, take the over. I like it.
Yeah, Jay, he may be an angry runner, but that's pretty much all he's got. He's not elusive. He's not fast. He doesn't have good vision. His patience, his timing is off. Ultimately, I think that's the reason that the Steelers did not pick up the option on Najee Harris. Yeah. I don't think he's going to be a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers next year. And I honestly don't think he'll get the people will be lining up to make him a starting running back in the NFL next year. I think ultimately by the end of the season, Jalen Warren will be the starting running back for the Steelers. I think so. His first year, Jalen Warren, his rookie year on the Steelers, he got something like 25% of the carries. Last year, he got somewhere around 50% of the carries, and I expect that to go up again this year, and ultimately for him to be the starting running back. Now,
he was also way more efficient with those carries that he received.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on with his injury. Like I said, obviously you guys saw this past weekend. Mason got in trouble for basically calling the team out and saying that they knew Christian McCaffrey was not going to play Friday night, is when he ultimately was told he was going to start in the game. He actually ended up. Yeah, he actually ended up. He got the Niners in trouble. I believe the fine is coming their way because they did not make that information known to the league. And I'm sure that Kyle Shanahan was pissed off about that. I think a lot of that happens in the NFL. I think Jalen Warren's more banged up than the Steelers are leading on his belief, because if you go back and look at the last 10 games of last year, he touched the ball 5 or more times in every single game that's last year. What did he touch it this week, Sean? I think it was it like 3? I think he had 3 touches.
He didn't have a lot. I looked at it because I have him on one of my fantasy teams. I think he only had like 16 yards.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately that is going to change, guys. He's not there. That is not a guy you just sit on the bench. He has a better skill set than Najee Harris does. He's ultimately a more dangerous player than Najee Harris is, and I think it won't take the Steelers long to figure that out. And with the division that the Steelers are in, that dogfight, they need every single benefit they can get to try to win that division.
I will tell you guys this, and based off of what Kyle and I are just talking about here and the points that Kyle has made, if they do come out and say that Jalen Warren is going to have more carries, I will be ixnaying this 53.5. I have not bet it yet. Justin Fields, I have. Najee Harris, I have not. I am not a Najee Harris fan, but if he's going to get 20 carries against Denver, he's going to smash 53 yards.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, if he gets 20 carries, that's a done deal. I just think ultimately, if Jalen Warren is healthy, Jalen Warren's going to see a lot more than 5 carries in this game. And you know what? Jalen Warren's the type of player where if he gets 6 carries against this Denver defense, he might be able to get over 50 yards rushing.
Thank you, Mike. You have a great night too, buddy. Thanks for checking in with us.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. We appreciate you. And I'm sure Matt's with you there. We appreciate both of you guys. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Really quick, I got a couple more smash starts we'll talk about, and then we're going to hit the high road. My running backs this week, I like Barkley versus Atlanta. I love Kyron Williams versus Arizona and Dobbins versus Carolina. And I love Mason. I think Minnesota is going to get dog walked by Minnesota or by San Francisco. And I think Mason's going to eat up the second half of that game. Just using that power run. He was so fun to watch
Yeah,
on
he looked he
Monday
looked he
nights.
looked he looked amazing on Monday night, man. I
He
don't know if
really
that
did.
was more the 49ers offensive line or more Mason, or maybe just a perfect combination of both, which is fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But man, he was patient. He was finding the right hole. He was making the right. He's elusive. He almost always makes the first man miss or drags him with him for a couple of yards. I like Mason a lot, and unfortunately for Christian McCaffrey fantasy owners, even when Christian McCaffrey does come back healthy, I think they're going to find a way to get Mason on that field, guys. And I think Christian McCaffrey's usage is finally going to go down a little bit more than it has in years past.
And you know what? You got to keep him healthy. So keeping him off the field a little
Yeah,
bit.
I mean, if the Niners believe they can make the playoffs without playing Christian McCaffrey in the regular season for one snap, I would be willing to do that because they need him. If the Niners make the playoffs with a healthy Christian McCaffrey, they're almost guaranteed going to the Super Bowl. I mean, maybe I'll change my mind later on down the year, but if they play like they have the last few years and specifically like they did on Monday night, the Niners are the best team in football, guys. Right now, I mean, that team was flawless. And, people could say what they want about the Jets, and Aaron Rodgers is old, and that's his first game back. But, man, the Jets look bad, and I don't think the Jets are that bad. I really don't. I think ultimately I still have the Jets to win that division. I projected the Jets to lose to San Fran, even when I picked the Jets to win that division. But they did look worse than I thought they would. But, man.
I was going to say, I didn't think it was going to look like that.
Particularly, Sean, wasn't it the defense the offense I expected was so start, but what the hell?
You got to remember in that game, Sauce Gardner left with an injury very early. Hassan Riddick was not there. And I can't remember. There was another key defensive player on the Jets that went out early in that football game. And honestly, not having Riddick and Sauce Gardner is a huge deal. That's a huge deal. So, and I don't know on the injury front with Trent Williams, he left the game. I don't remember. Dustin, if you're out there, man, and you know anything about Trent Williams, please inform us. I saw him walk to the locker room. I don't know if he ever came back. So if you are out there, Dustin, you got an update, hit us on the horn here and let us know if there's anything up with him.
You got Bruce there says Jordan Mason had a great game for the Niners. Yeah, we were just talking about it, Bruce. Yeah, we agree 100%, man. That was fun to watch. I know Bruce is a little bit of a Niners fan. I think he's a bigger Bears fan, but he has a small spot in his heart for the San Francisco 49ers. And man, Bruce, yeah, and so does Dustin, obviously. But man, Mason looked really, really good last Monday, and if he continues to play like that, like I said, guys, that's all you people who drafted Christian McCaffrey, which was the right move, by the way. That's going to dig into your pockets a little bit there, guys. So hopefully you have a deep team.
Here, another one I like. I'm waiting for Kyron Williams receptions and just his receiving and rushing yards. I think Kyron Williams dog walked Arizona last year, man. I think he's going to destroy them this weekend.
Yeah, you know what? And Sean,
good against the tough Detroit defense,
and Sean and I talked about this before the season, guys. A lot of people who are in keeper leagues or people who were high in the draft and were like, we heard a lot of Kyron Williams is going to take a step back. They drafted Blake Corum. There's about this and that and this and that. You guys, with the season that Kyron Williams had last year, there was no chance in hell that the Rams are going to stop giving him the ball. I mean, the guy was absolutely amazing. You could make an argument that he was the best running back in the NFL last year, or even in fantasy, even though he didn't finish the top 20. But their team, it's a lot harder for Kyron Williams to find room than it is for guys like Christian McCaffrey. It's not as good an offensive line. There's not as many weapons to distract them from, especially when Cooper Kupp or Nakua or one of them is always hurt. Kyron Williams is a beast. He's an absolute monster. Arizona's defense is horrendous. It's going to be horrendous all year. They didn't do much to address their defense from last year. I do expect them to get a little bit better, but nothing significant. I expect Kyron Williams to, if you have Kyron Williams in your fantasy league, he is going to win you your week this week. He is going to have an absolute monster game. And anybody who's playing against him, I feel bad for him.
Hey, Chris Goldman, he's playing against you, buddy. Yeah. We have. I like Barkley. I'm gonna like Barkley every week in that Eagles offense. I mean, unless they're playing. I mean, maybe he'll have a lesser game. I'll rank him a little bit lower against Dallas or something like that. But I think. I mean, Atlanta didn't show me.
I do think Atlanta's run defense is going to get better as the year goes on. I do. I
Yeah,
think Matthew Judon's going to get comfortable there, and Judon can play the run just as well as he can play the pass. He's a very good
I think
player.
Atlanta's
He's
going
a
to
football
round
player.
into being one of the best teams in that division. I just think my biggest concern with Atlanta was if you watch Kirk Cousins, he couldn't push off his plant foot where he had his surgery. That's a big problem for Kyle Pitts and Drake
Yeah,
London,
yeah.
guys.
You know what, guys? You know what? I noticed that, Sean. I actually watched that game was on TV, and I watched a little bit of that game, and I noticed the same thing, man. Kirk Cousins just didn't look the same. Now, obviously,
Yep.
once again, guys, this is week 1, so there's no reactions. But I'll tell you what, if Kirk Cousins continues to look like that, then Atlanta's draft pick at number 7 doesn't look as bad as we thought it. We've all been tearing them down, destroying them. But man, if they need a quarterback, they got one sitting on the bench now, guys. So
Yeah,
ultimately, I would not worry about Atlanta's skill position players just yet, because I think ultimately they're going to have somebody who can move the ball no matter what. And you know what? I do like the quarterback. I'm sorry, why is his name? His name escapes me for Washington. Michael Penix. I do like Michael Penix. I don't think he should start this year. I think Kirk Cousins should start all year, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for the Falcons if he did.
They honestly didn't. They obviously went into the season saying they had no plans. He went to the locker room for dehydration.
Yeah, so he should be good now.
He should be good. I did not know what was wrong with him. I missed that part, and I just turned around and I just saw him walking, but I don't ever remember during the game saying why he went to the locker rooms. Thank you, PT57, for that.
Sean, how do you feel about Bijan Robinson versus Philly?
I'm not.
Josh Jacobs had towards the end of that game, he was running down their throats, man.
He was running. Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter in the middle. I mean, if they want to get him outside, I am not bullish on him.
Yeah, he could do anything. I mean, it's Bijan Robinson. He can run wherever he wants.
But I mean, I'm not going to bench him either. I'm starting Kyren Williams and Bijan Robinson versus my buddy Chris. He's gonna. I hope.
And Chris is starting Kyren Williams against somebody in another league, so he's probably not pouting about the fact that you're playing Kyren Williams against him.
And you know, guys, really quick, I didn't really have too many receivers. I didn't get a good chance to look into them, but two that I like that we talked about earlier in the show. Where Cooper Kupp and Terry McLaurin. I will tell you this: start everyone against the Giants D, and start everyone you got against Arizona's D.
And start everybody you got. Start Malik Neighbors against Washington as well, guys. Washington's defense is not good. They are absolutely horrendous. And I don't like the Giants at all. I don't like Daniel Jones at all. I do think the Giants are going to have a bounce back game, even if it's a loss. I don't care. They're not going to look as bad as they did last week, guys. That was insane. That was a destruction.
They did get the ball to Neighbors a lot, though, which is a really good sign.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And if they keep doing that stuff, if you keep getting the ball in the hands of your playmakers, ultimately you're going to have some better games. I still don't think the Giants are going to be a good team. I think they would be a lot better team if they had Saquon Barkley and Malik Neighbors. I think they'd be a much better team.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to put a bow on the show. And we are going to take one more final look. We had DJ Moore over 60.5 receiving yards, anytime touchdown for Josh Allen. Khalil Shakur over 40.5 receiving. We have him also over 3.5 catches. Smash play for the Bears was DJ Moore over 60.5 receiving yards. I really, really love this guy this week. I like Dalton Kincaid in a bounce back game, 36.5 receiving over. And if you can get Justin Fields at 45.5 rushing yards, find it, pound it, and put next month's mortgage on it. And it's probably going to happen.
And James Cook over 83.5 rushing plus receiving yard, guys. I think James Cook will do that most weeks. I think you're going to see that number move up steadily as the year goes on. But
I agree.
Really quick, guys.
Pound Kyren Williams, man. When he comes out, pound him. He's going to absolutely just torch the Arizona Cardinals, man. Really quick, we're gonna have a big announcement on Monday. We're gonna have a brand new sponsor to talk about, maybe 2 new sponsors to talk about as we continue to grow our flagship 4-star Chicago sports. We also are going to get you guys in the know of our big Monday night event coming up at the end of December, week before Christmas, December 16th. It's going to be at River Street Tavern. It's going to be a blowout. We're getting the paperwork and all this stuff done right now, so we can get a flyer up. We can show you guys. We can post it on Facebook. We'd like to meet you guys that are in the crowd, people that are watching. So come up to River Street, pack the joint, root on the Bears versus the Vikings, and let's take them down, man, and let's have a good time.
Yeah,
Anything
and
else
guys,
we get out of here?
everybody, you guys, there's a lot of stuff that happens on the kind of the administrative side, I guess you'd say, of starting a podcast, getting this all started. We're a little bit behind. We will have an Instagram up and running soon. We will have our website up and running soon. There's just a couple more things we have to get done with YouTube and Facebook. You guys can check Facebook for Sean's bets. He puts them on there. So if you guys have any questions or bets you're curious about, maybe thinking about making, and we didn't address them, you're more than welcome to go on the Facebook page and ask us those questions. If you want to know who to start in fantasy, so on and so forth. Eventually, you guys, we're going to get a start-em, sit-em for every position, and we'll go through them real quick for you guys at the end of the show so that you kind of know where you are with your running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks. We'll get you guys who we think you should start in order from first to top 1 to 12, and then who we think you should not start. But we really appreciate all you guys coming on. Jay, Matt, Mike, Bruce, Dustin, as always, Stephanie, Liz, we appreciate all you guys coming on as always. I'm sorry if I missed anybody, but River Street Tavern, thank you once again for being our first sponsor. Looking forward to introducing our next sponsor next week, guys. I probably will not talk to you guys again and between now and the Bears game. So go Bears. I hope they beat the Texans, but it's going to be a tall task, guys.
It's going to be a tall task, but I have to ask my boy Austin Booker a quick question.
Anything you want to get out there before we wrap up?
Shit, fuck Green Bay.
All right. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, bear down.
Well, we lost Sean, guys.
24-23, the Bears. Let's go Sunday night. We'll see you guys on Monday. Don't forget, Dustin and Brandon are going to have their breakdown. I believe they said Friday morning they were going to have it out.
They recorded early, guys. They'll get it out later in the week. We don't know if it'll be Friday and Saturday, but I promise it will be on Facebook at some point this week, and they'll probably go over a little bit of bets with you guys as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Steve, thanks a lot for joining us, man. I appreciate it. I think that's the first time I've seen your name in here.
Love you, man. Thank you. Thanks for all the support, because like I said earlier, without you, we're just talking to ourselves. So until next week, man, we'll see you all. Peace and love. Bear down.
Bear down, guys.